Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 25 of 2019, the Preakness Stakes. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can tweet us at The Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media /The Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by mybookie.ag for a 50% sign-up bonus to bet the Preakness. Please visit MyBookie. Use the promo code The Odds Breakers. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out and sponsor our podcast, we would love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and for $12.99 a month, you can become an Odds Breakers member and gain all access to my picks and premium picks before the line moves. For $2 more, you can get all that and the podcast early by becoming a patron subscriber. And if nothing else, visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. My friends, we have an excellent show for you today. Marco D'Angelo is back to discuss the Preakness and a little bit of the Kentucky Derby. I myself am going to go over a little bit of NFL season win totals. And I know it's early, but most of the free agents have already moved. We have already had our draft, and we've already seen the 2019 NFL schedule. I got to tell you, I've put a lot of work into this already, as well as college. And as you remember, we were 11-1-1 in college season win totals. Had a phenomenal year. Don't ever expect that again, but I love the way we attack it. And we have a special way that we attack the NFL. Can't wait to go over that. You know, a lot of people say the Kentucky Derby was terrible and the main two horses aren't running and it's going to hurt the Preakness Stakes. I'll tell you this, it's not going to hurt me. I'm sure it's not going to hurt Marco because no matter what, this is a grade one type race with the best horses around. And you can still drink beers, sit in your pool, smoke cigars, and bet the pony. So I'm going to have a fantastic time betting the Preakness. Man, football, I'll tell you, I don't miss it yet, and I'm not dying to see it. But about the time of the All-Star break is the time I really start jonesing for football. You know, because during that All-Star break, the NBA is over, NHL is over, no sports are going on, except for the smaller leagues, maybe WNBA, a couple other things. But I tell you what, that's the time I really start itching for it. And you know you're still about 2 months away from the NFL, almost 2 months from college. And then, you start really getting into looking at some of those futures. But we start early because we can find a lot of value in the line before the line moves at some of these sports books. So really excited to get into that. Before that, I get into that, though, I want to quick discuss the NBA draft lottery. Apparently, there used to be a 25% chance that the best or the worst team, the best tanking team, gets the first pick of the draft, and that was brought down to 14%. You saw the New York Knicks instead get third pick, the Phoenix Suns get sixth, and the Bulls get seventh. Those were, I think, three of the worst four teams in the league. And instead, a 6% chance happens, and the New Orleans Pelicans get it, and Memphis, a 6% chance, gets second. So I guess NBA fixed that a little bit, but I still think there's value in tanking because no matter what, if you have the worst record, you're still getting the top five pick. And, I mean, why would you want to finish eighth worst or seventh worst when you can finish worst and just improve your team? If you're not making the playoffs, you're not there. Personally, because the NBA is so screwed up, I think that they should award the team that just misses the playoffs by the closest margin with the first pick. And the worst team will have the biggest salary cap. So they get punished for it. And so they're trying to win games all year. Meaning they get to pay and don't get punished for paying for their players as much. But they're not going to get first pick for being the worst team. So I prefer that model. I came up with it. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. If you have any opinions, please tweet us at the Odds Breakers. But as you see, the NBA's broke already because they don't have a franchise tag, and there's only 68 teams that really matter. So until they get a franchise tag, I just don't see how you can be an Atlanta Hawks fan, a Memphis Grizzlies fan, Indianapolis Pacers, Utah Jazz, because no matter who you're getting, those players are leaving. You saw the Pelicans get the number 1 pick, and maybe Anthony Davis will stay, but I still think he might go to a bigger market, and it's almost like they're going to be a farm team for somebody bigger. Imagine if the New York Knicks were actually competent and they had a competent organization, right? They'd be dangerous. But that's my 2 cents on the NBA. And everyone's all crying. You saw how disappointed Patrick Ewing was because he's not getting Zion. Well, first of all, Zion's only 18 or 19 years old. The NBA is a league way above college, okay? As a matter of fact, there's players in Europe that are better than most of the college players, sometimes all of the better college players, I mean, you've seen guys like Giannis come out of there, right? Europe is a better farm system for the NBA in many cases than the NCAA, These players are a little bit older and they played against older people, And so it's just really spread out. I think that Zion will be a fine player, but I also think there's a lot of value in the draft. Guys like Naz Reid, Naz Reid is 6'10", Zion's 6'6" or 6'7". Naz Reid hits 3-pointers. He takes over games with less talent around him. He might be the best player in this draft. Literally, I would not be shocked. You got guys like Kobe White from North Carolina, that point guard that pretty much ran the team. He had that bad game against Auburn, and Auburn did turn up the defense, but the kid's going to be a stud, I think. Jarrett Culver, DeAndre Hunter. There is plenty of value in this draft. So, being all butthurt about not having the first pick is kind of silly in my vision. And I think, there's just too much hype around Zion. If Zion played for LSU and if Naz Reid played for Duke, you might see all that hype for Naz Reid instead. That's my 2 cents on that. All right, well, without further ado, before we get into the Preakness Stakes, let's first discuss what I've came up with, the NFC North season win totals. And I'm almost done with the whole NFC, but we're going to break this up into multiple podcasts. I want to quick go over how I come up with these totals. Now, these can be a little bit boring, so I'm going to try to race through them, talk faster. But just the way I come up with my totals, I take their 2018 record, and then I take the 2018 Pythagorean record, meaning points scored squared, well, really to the 2.4th power, over points scored to the 2.4th power, plus points against to the 2.4th power. You get a fraction, you multiply that by 16 games, and with the amount of points that they scored and gave up, that's how many games that they should have won. So that's the theorem, and I like taking that and averaging it with the 2018 record, because if you look at the outliers, let's just say a team went 16-0 and only beat their competition each game by 1, their Pythagorean is really going to be like 8.5 or 9 games, even when they won 16 games. So projecting for next year, you might not think they're going to win 15, 16 games again, just because they won, a lot of luck factored in there. But also there's a clutch part of it. So, that would average to like 12.3, 12.4 games, whatever you come up with. So I think that would be the honest number. That's why I averaged the 2018 record to the 2018 Pythagorean record. Then I take a little bit of points away if you were really healthy. If you're healthier than the average team, I take a half game away or so. Sometimes it's a quarter game, just depends. And I give games back, like a half game, if you were really injured. Now, if it was a quarterback that was injured, then I might give you more games back, like San Francisco 49ers with Garoppolo. They lost their quarterback. They lost Foster, their best linebacker. They lost Jerick McKinnon in the beginning. I gave them 2.5 games back, because when there's a quarterback involved, it's a lot more to the total, to the win total of the team. So I go by the 2018 strength of schedule. If it was really easy, I take a game away. If it was medium easy, I take a half game away. If it was medium, it's 0. Medium hard, give them a half game from last year. And if it's very hard, I give them a game. And just like the 2019 projected strength of schedule that I use, projected against the season win totals, because it's the best way to do it. So if a team's playing a bunch of teams that have a very high projected win total, Vegas projected win total, then, they have a very hard schedule. And then I'll take a game away, just the same way I did it. And if they have an easy schedule this coming year, I give them a game. So that's how I do that. I look at their key losses to free agency, retirement, coaches leaving, and I'll take a game, half game, usually sometimes even 2 games away, up to 2 for players leaving. And then for the draft and free agency, I give them some games back, half game, game here, 1.5. Rare to see 2 from the draft and free agency, but you might see a few scragglers around, looking at some of these teams. Then I get my actual projected win total, and I also go through their schedule, look for bad spots, put the W's and L's there, just like anybody else. And, there's going to be short weeks and things like that, but you shouldn't read too much into that. Travel spots, yeah, a little bit. And then just kind of make sure that everything lines up. And then if it's usually a 1.5 or 2 game discrepancy is when I make a bet. And I won't make it if it's like 1.6, 1.7, and there's a reason not to make the bet, like the turnover margin was crazy in favor of them last year or something, then I would not do it. So if it's over 2, it's usually always a bet of some amount from the Vegas win total. So that's how we get it. And I'll send this spreadsheet out. I'll be sending out articles from theoddsbreakers.com probably every week for the NFL season win totals. All right, well, let's get right into it then. We're going to do the NFC North today. And before I get into the teams, I talk about the NFC North schedule. The conference will have it very tough this year because the conference plays the NFC East this year, and they play the AFC West. The Redskins should be better in the NFC East to go along with the Cowboys, obviously, and the Eagles, who were just in the Super Bowl recently in the playoffs last year. And then the Raiders and Broncos should be better. Gruden really beefed up that Raiders team. A lot of picks, a lot of signed free agents. And then you obviously in the AFC, you have the Chargers and the Chiefs. So the NFC North is going to have it pretty tough. Plus, they like to beat up each other. The Bears, the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings are good. The Lions are sneaky. It's just the way it really is. So NFC North has a little bit tough this year, I think. Chicago Bears win total is 9.5. Their schedule is very hard. And their schedule was actually very easy last year. So there's 2 games I got to take away there. Their at-large games are against the Saints and the Rams. The Bears actually have to play the Saints, the Rams, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and they also have to play the Chiefs and the Chargers. So just looking at all that, it's looking pretty brutal. Their key player losses are Bryce Callahan at slot, Jordan Howard at running back, Adrian Amos at free safety, Cody Parkey, thank God. And they replace Adrian Amos with Clinton Dix. They got Buster Skrine to replace Bryce Callahan, Mike Davis to replace Jordan Howard. So they kind of replaced everybody there, And then they drafted not high. Third pick was their highest pick because of the Khalil Mack thing, which was totally worth it. David Montgomery, the running back out of Iowa State, which is actually a good pick. He was like the 4th best running back in the draft and picked in the 3rd round. That's pretty good. They got Riley Ridley, a receiver that was kind of a steal. I think I would have rather had a secondary, maybe a safety there or another offensive lineman. But hey, Riley Ridley, if he turns out, that's fine. I just kind of already thought the Bears were stacked at wide receiver, cornerback Duke Shelley, and a couple other guys. So the Bears are coming off that 12-win season. It actually could have been 14 because Cody Parkey missed that field goal against Miami that should have won it, and they lost to the Giants when Mitch wasn't playing, and they also had that epic collapse against the Packers. So the bad news for this team is that they had the 2nd easiest schedule, and now they have the 5th hardest. And like I said, all those tough games. So going over it, you have the Bears. I'm taking away a half game from them, but their Pythag was 12.2. Their record was 12, so it averages out to 12.1. take out half game for their injuries because they were very healthy. So you're down to 11.6. They had an easy schedule last year. Take away a game, that's 10.6. They have a hard schedule.